everyone, and welcome to another segment of Kayla Cuts Deep. I am Kayla, and I am the half-ass editor at Death Curse, and also a badass interviewer. So for tonight's guest, I have someone whose book I have been keeping an eye on for a while now, and I'm very excited to have him on here and talk about it. I have STEPHAN Velez to talk about The Vale Walker. So let's bring in STEPHAN.
Hey,
What is going on?
not much, not much. Another late night here on the East Coast, and just working on books and talking to some nerds. Best way to spend my night, right?
Best way to spend your night. All right. So your book caught my eye a few months back. I kind of stalked it. I scoped it out. I hit you up. I told you you'd hit your goal. You hit your goal.
Yes.
You caught the eye of some pretty big people in this industry. What's that
Thankfully.
like? First time out, first book, right?
Overwhelming, all this love and support. I'm not used to it. But no, it's great. Yeah, but it's a long time coming. They say it's an overnight success, but it's something we've been working on for a long time. Me and my team out of Massachusetts, which you're very familiar with. So yeah, it's great to uh, finally feel the love for a project that I've been putting so much work into.
So how many years or how long?
Alexander, the character, was first conceptualized about 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. Uh, we sort of started developing it, put it on the back burner until we worked on some things. And yeah, I would say about 6 years now, we've been like legitimately working hard and hard on full time to make it happen.
Did you plan on it to always be a comic book or were you trying to do something else with it at first?
Video games was kind of our first passion. That was like our first, me and HP, who is, we can consider my co-creator. We wanted to make video games. We wanted to do these sort of Witcher or adventure type things. And eventually we kind of saw how difficult it would be to just to get Alexander noticed. And I wasn't going to pay $100,000 to go
Yeah.
to gaming school, right? Um, So then we kind of went back to the drawing board and we're like, okay, what's one of our other passions? Something that we can possibly get done. And it ended up being, comic books. We're like, all right, this is another avenue for us. It will be cheaper and easier. And boy, were we wrong. It was not cheaper and it was not easier. But nearly 10 years later, here we are.
So when you say it wasn't cheaper and it wasn't easier, do you want to explain some of those factors when you go to create a comic book that you thought would be cheaper than what they ended up being?
Yeah. So like character design, drawing, sequential art, finding an artist that you honestly believe would do justice to your book. I can throw a number out there, like a nice round number for you guys. In the past 10 years, I've dropped about 10 grand into the book, a little more since this campaign started. Just getting it to where it was, and finally we got some Kickstarter funds, and now we have the Indiegogo funds to finish everything off. And yeah, so it wasn't cheaper. I thought art was gonna be, you know, $30 a page for sequentials. Multiply that by 10, or something like that. So it was pretty expensive, and we weren't expecting it at first.
What was the process of finding an artist like for you? Did you go through a few artists or was there one in particular that you just met, vibed with, you liked their work? I mean, what was it like for you, that
It,
process?
just like that. So we actually started to get art done because I'm an okay artist, but I don't think I personally would do justice to my book, to my
Okay.
story. So what I did is once I actually moved from Massachusetts to Miami, I would say about 6 or 7 years ago, I started looking for a local artist. I was like, let me find somebody around here. I'm like, it's Miami. There's a bunch of artists. There's a bunch of art everywhere.
Mhm.
There needs to be someone who can do this for me. And I started using Instagram and sort of going on comic book pages and the local conventions. And I found this guy named Sajad Shaw. This was before he started doing, covers for Berserker and stuff like that. So I reached out to Sajad over Instagram. I showed him some of the stuff I had. And eventually he was like, cool, like, let's jump on a call and see what you're all about. And I was on a call with that poor man for about an hour and a half. just word vomiting the story of, at the time, called Alexander. And one thing I like to say is the first person I sold the idea of Alexander to was my artist, Sajad Shaw. He loved it. He made some recommendations. He referred us to Adelso, who at the time had still not worked on King Spawn and Spawn Universe and all the stuff he's worked on recently, for inks. And, a little further down the line, we met with Leonardo Pacariotti, who's our colorist out of Spain. And, again, he was another Sajad referral, and we've been working beautifully together ever since.
That's really interesting. So, something that caught my eye, well, ear, I should say, right? So, you said it was called Alexander at first.
Mm-hmm. It was.
What made you switch it to Vale Walker, and why did you choose the name Alexander for your main character? I mean, there's a meaning with names.
Yes,
So,
there is. So for me, I've always been a big fan of Alexander the Great.
hmm.
And I'm a big history buff. I like, Babylon and Egyptian history, ancient Chinese history. Like, I got Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the novels on my
Mm-hmm.
bookshelf back there. I've always enjoyed that. And when I thought of a charismatic leader and strong, powerful character, Alexander just kind of rung a bell, and I couldn't get past it. At first it was a placeholder, so I would just call him Alexander for now. But it kind of stuck. It's kind of like, don't name something unless it'll start growing on you, right? And so the name itself actually started growing on me, so it stuck. But the change to the Vale Walker happened because we sat back and we were looking at the project, and we're kind of like, man, is Alexander catchy enough? Is it unique enough? Are we going to put it on a shelf, and is it going to stand out? Like, it's just the guy's name. Like, they don't call, Batman Bruce Wayne, right? The comic isn't Bruce, it's
Mm-hmm.
Batman, So at the time, I didn't even have a name for his alter ego. And I started sort of experimenting, looking around, trying to find something. I had some elements of the story in my head that I was like, maybe we can base it off of this. And eventually it was when I started watching the Blade movies again, the original Blade trilogy. So they call Blade the Daywalker. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's because he can walk out in the day when other vampires really can't. What does Alexander have that he can do that others can't? And it's, he walked beyond the veil and returned where many others have lost their way. So there you go, Veil Walker. And that was it. That was the change. And people have been like, hey, man, you made the best decision you could have made.
I think so. That name, I mean, the name is what drew me in at first. So I was like, Vale Walker, this is an amazing name. Like, what is this about? And then obviously, like, I went through, I read what it was about, I saw the trailer, I looked through the art. I liked everything about it. I thought it was really unique. It was combining different genres that I love because there's like some fantasy to it, and there's some sci-fi to it, and there's even like a little element of horror in it,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat.
Yeah,
So, and I felt too that I saw that you were perhaps maybe even inspired by Spawn a little bit
I
to,
was.
to an extent.
I was.
So, like comics, right? What comic was your first love? Like,
My first
what
comic
was your
love.
first love in comics? Or what is a story that you consider is iconic?
Sorry,
It's as bad as
somebody's.
my, don't worry about it. It's as bad as my cats. I just, you should have seen my interview last week.
I'm trying to figure out how to get him out of the room. Give me a sec. Hold on. Go. Get the paper. And he's not going to get the paper. All right. Let's see if I ignore him. All right. Cool. All right. My first love in my first love in comics was, it was a mix. I remember seeing the animations first,
Okay.
right? So where I grew up, comics weren't readily available. Like, my family legitimately had to go way out of their way to take me to a comic book shop. So it was the animations. It was Spider-Man. It was Batman. I'm 31, so 95, 96. I was in that age. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. Um, and that's what introduced me to superheroes, along with the first run. I think it was on the local channels up in upstate New York, of Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball. That's like a story from another time. I can talk Dragon Ball all day with
All day.
people
Like,
all day.
I got it all over my shelf. Uh,
I have a tattoo. I have a whole Dragon Ball Z shelf over there too. I have like a scouter. I got it all. I have like the
I love it.
balls exclusive from New York Comic Con. I have a problem. All right. Like
I have a weird fascination with the forever loser Vegeta. I don't know why he's my
that's
favorite
hey, he's
character.
my favorite too.
There you go. Why? Well,
Most well developed character in all of Dragon Ball. And
when
he
people
never
ask
gets
me,
freaking win.
no, when people ask me, why are you such a fan of a loser? And I'm like, listen, if being a stay at home father to a
Mhm.
millionaire sugar mama is a loser, all right, cool. Sure. I'll be a loser. Why
Come on
not?
now. Bulma is the smartest woman there is. There is no Dragon Ball anything without Bulma. I'm a
Hmm.
big Bulma Vegeta person. You know, that was something as a kid. I don't know if you remember like the Future Trunk stuff. I know we're going off topic, but Future Trunks, that whole thing was life changing.
Hell yeah.
That you just seeing that, and then when you find out, and you're like, oh no way! And
Like
the whole Cell Saga, that was creepy as freaking hell.
it was like it's some of the best storytelling, for
Yeah,
for kids, right? It's just so exciting and how everything leads into the to everything else. And that's kind of something that I've taken into my own storytelling. Is one thing I notice about comic books is, for the most part, one story arc from a comic book doesn't lead into the next, because every
hmm
writer, at least from my understanding or my belief, is every writer wants to go ahead and say, hey, I want to make this my own, and I want to develop these characters my own way. So they kind of end up retconning a bunch of stuff. Where in anime and manga, that story continues, and those events are always there, and there's conclusions, there's growth, and all that. So we're taking that aspect from manga, where there's no reboots. We know where everything is going. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And then we took the look from comic books, which I prefer over manga, and we're kind of combining that together. So kind of the best of both worlds. So this is something that can appeal to weebs just as much as it does to the hardcore comic book fans
yeah,
that
you
are
can be
sick and
both.
tired of reboots. Yeah, of
You can be both. I'm a weeb. I'm a nerd. I'm all of that. So
course.
it is what it is. I just like great storytelling and great artwork. That's how it's
Hmm.
always been for me. I will say, I think the reason right now, when people ask me, why do you think it's more successful than comic books right now? And it's because they don't do the retconning like that. I mean, let's take Dragon Ball. You always know Goku is the main protagonist of the story. You always know that. They have never taken that role from Goku,
Right.
even when he died. You always know who the main protagonist is. You always know who the story is going to be featured about. You know that they are not going to take other characters and possibly change things. Like when Goku died, they weren't going to basically make Chi-Chi like the all-powerful character because Goku's dead and she's a woman, and
Now,
they weren't going to do anything like that. They
I
stayed
will
true to what they are.
I will say this. Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball, did want to make Gohan the main character
He
after
did at one
Goku died.
point and then
He
decided
did.
not to.
He didn't decide not to. His editors and Toei forced him to keep Goku as the main character,
Was it
which I
the editors,
understand.
really? I
It
didn't
was the
think it was the
editors.
editors. I read that it was him. He decided not to.
Nah, he
Oh,
was.
that's interesting.
I heard a different story. I heard that he was forced. Basically, he was convinced to keep Goku on as the main character. But everybody knew Gohan. He was setting Gohan up. If you look at the Cell arc, how it ended,
Mhm.
he was setting Gohan up as the strongest. There was no reason for Goku not to defeat Cell if he was just going to continue being the hero when he could have. So that's just those are just little things. So if I would have been writing Dragon Ball, I would have made Gohan the hero. I would
I
have
wouldn't
let
have. I would have
Goku.
made Vegeta win. I would finally give Vegeta the win. This Revenge of Frieza movie that happened, Vegeta would have finally got the win. It
That
wouldn't have
too.
been Goku getting the win with Frieza. It would have had to be Vegeta for me. I mean,
They're
he's had the
setting it
most
up.
growth. They gotta reward him in some way for his growth, because when you talk about character evolution and why I like Vegeta personally is because I felt he has had the most growth as a character throughout the series. We
He
have a
has.
person that showed up as a villain, and I understand his main issue is pride, but is pride bad all the time? No, it's not. You have to have it balanced, and it seems he has achieved balance. So,
Have you been following the
yeah.
manga, the super manga?
I am behind on the manga. I've already watched all of well, I haven't watched it in English. See, that's where I get weird with Dragon Ball. I'll watch the movies in English, but I watch the show in Japanese with subtitles.
Mm,
So I'll catch it. I mean, I have a sub to Funimation, so it's just I have been caught up watching. I was rewatching Inuyasha, okay, because I have a thing for Inuyasha. I
sit.
think a lot of women do. It just in general, it's a love story. So
Power trip.
yeah, I love it, and, then I wanted to, because I wanted to watch the new, like, the series about the daughters there, so I can't even pronounce it, like, Hiyashishime, whatever the hell, my Massachusetts accent doesn't allow me to say it, but I didn't even know that was even a thing until I was, like, bored and flipping through my TV, and it came on an Adult Swim, and I was like, "Oh, no, I gotta go to Hulu, I gotta see this in whole, I won't watch it on Adult Swim." So,
Yep.
yeah,
Oh,
so
but yeah, so Vegeta had great growth, but so did Piccolo. I think the best two
oh, yeah.
characters in Dragon Ball leading up to the point before they kind of went off the rails was Vegeta and Piccolo. But back to your original question before you went on this tangent, right?
The Dragon Ball stuff just, it takes
It,
us
it,
to a new place.
we weave out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just since I have my headphones on, I can't hear. He's messing with a bag. You guys must have been going crazy. So, um, again, my inspirations like were the animations, Batman the animated series, Spider-Man, X-Men, right? So that all
X-Men,
led
yeah.
into right. So that all led into like the Blade movie when it first came out, like that first Blade movie, which was what like 2000 something. It was early 2000s.
I wanna say it was early 2000s, and in my opinion, one of the best Marvel movies ever made. I don't care
Hmm.
that series.
Guillermo del Toro, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. That would be a Spencer question. Spencer knows, like, everything about movies possible.
So I
So,
want to know.
Blade 2, he said Blade 2, yes.
He did
Guillermo
Blade
del
2.
Toro did it, yes.
Okay. But yeah, the Spawn movie also came out around that time, like that original Spawn movie. So, like my first two like actual comic book characters that I myself went out of my way to tell my parents to go buy for me were Blade and Spawn. Right. But I also had like X Factor, which was I think like the first comic I ever had was either X Factor or X Force, one of those two. It was XF something.
Yeah,
Um,
there's so many of them.
yeah.
I'm a
Right.
big X-Men person, so there's Uncanny, there's X-Force, there's X-Men, there's
Yeah.
all the spin-off series. Wolverine, you probably had a Wolverine comic book, I'm assuming,
Of course.
at that point, you
Uh,
know?
but I'll tell you guys a secret. As a kid and into my early 20s, I wouldn't actually read the comic books. I would just flip and look at the pages and kind of make up the story in my own head. Because, like, bro, I don't have time to read this. So I'll kind of just look at the stories and I'm like, yeah, so this happened, that happened. And then when I get to the end, I was like, huh, maybe I should have read it. But, anyways, on to the next one. So, yeah,
Did you
so
at
that,
least play Marvel versus Capcom?
yeah, of
Okay,
course.
so I'm sure you did story mode on that, so I'm sure you got some context of stuff that
Hmm.
was in comics.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least Marvel versus Capcom 2. That was the
yeah.
best one I thought out of all of them, but
That I did. But most of the context that I was getting was from the animated series. Right, the X-Men animated series and stuff like that. The HBO series that my father would never let me watch on from Spawn.
oh, I was allowed to watch that.
Oh, they didn't. No, they didn't allow me to watch that. So yeah, those were like my first initial influences in regards to like comic books, and I think a lot of that kind of seeps through into the Vale Walker and what I'm writing now because there is a big influence from Spawn. Alexander himself is kind of like a Hispanic magical blade character, just with a suit on, you know. And then Constantine, another movie that I saw early on, right? So you guys can kind of see the connection here. It was those movies were sort of like my true passion and my true love in regards to comic books. I have them back there still to this day.
I love it. I love it. That's all good. And you know what? The X-Men animated series, I will say that is the best adaptation of any X-Men comic series ever.
It was a drama. It was a drama of all
Yeah.
things. It was a drama first, and I didn't realize that until I was an adult. I was like, this is a damn drama. This is a character drama. This is mostly about the interaction between those characters, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm afraid of what Disney's going to end up doing with the licensed animation.
All right. So I think my father said it best. Wolverine has to be R rated. You can't do a G rated Wolverine thing. There was a whole
Doesn't
rant
work.
he had on here. Um, you ever get a chance, you'll have to watch it. It's actually my father's pretty comical about the comic book stuff and how they're changing things.
I bet.
So, but yeah, his thing is like we telling him like G-rated Wolverine. We like to like pick at him to get the reactions, but he loses it.
I
Um,
bet.
he loses it. So yeah, it's unfortunate. So why indie comics? Why indie comics? Why didn't you decide to go and shop your book to one of the big two or to Image or
I did.
oh, you did.
I did. I did initially, many, many moons ago. We had an
Okay.
offer on the table. They weren't one of the big two, but we had a pretty lucrative offer at one point, which was still going on. This is right before I launched my first Kickstarter back in 2018. So we're actually right after I launched my first Kickstarter in 2018. So they give us an offer. We're considering it. We're looking at it. But in the meantime, while all that's going on, we sort of start to get requests for changes. And I was just like,
Hmm.
I was like, we haven't even signed the deal yet. And you're already requesting changes. And some other things started to sort of happen, fall through. Eventually, we kind of called off the deal mutually, luckily. And the best thing that could happen, because there were some other people I know who lost the rights to their books for the next, 4 or 5 years because they had signed the deal before certain things happened. And yeah, so we had a deal on the table, and we just I didn't like it. I didn't like where it was going. And eventually, I said, here we are. Let's go to Indy, and let's make sure that we maintain complete control of the Vale Walker Alexander. And when I do put it out, it is the vision I've had for the past 10 years, and it's not somebody else's doesn't have somebody else's fingerprints all over it.
Why do you think people are tempted, would be tempted by that situation and would be willing to basically let someone take their idea that they had and a character that they created, their baby, their passion, and allow someone to make changes to it? Why do you think that?
Because it's easier. It's the easy road, right? It's the easy path. It's the as they say, the path of least resistance. If you just become a yes man and let them pay you up front for your book. And really, at the end of the day, what a lot of things are happening is all these indie books and all these indie titles that are getting bought up by these sort of startups, they're Netflix pitches, right? So once they get it from you, they make some adjustments so it looks better for Netflix, Hulu, or wherever. But yeah, it's the easiest path. Not everybody wants to jump and do 30 streams in a month, 40 streams in a month. Not everybody wants to pay out of pocket, and for their pages and stuff like that. So I think it's just simple. It's just easier if they want to sell their soul to the devil, for say.
Okay. Right, that's very interesting. So you own your own IP.
Yes, yes. I own
Do you
my
want
own
to talk
IP.
about that? Why is that so important that creators should be owning their own IP? Can I tell you, I watched this documentary this week when I was typing up an essay on Bob Ross. All right, have you seen
Hmm.
it? It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
This man, do you know? And I never knew this. This man, these other people, his own son can't even use his last name, Ross. His son
really.
cannot use his last name. Every Bob Ross product that you see that's out there that's marketed, none of his family makes any profit or gets anything from it. It's the people that basically own who he was, and it's actually, it was horror. The whole, like, when you watch it, it's horrible. And I'm like, wow, what monsters were these people? And all this man wanted to do was create art, but he was not educated enough on this kind of
The
stuff.
business side,
So
yeah.
they basically own this man, his name, his image, everything until 2060.
He'll be long gone by then,
He's
unfortunately.
Bob Ross is already gone, but his
Is he
son,
really? Oh, Jesus, sorry.
yeah, he passed away in
Sorry.
like it's okay. No, it's all right because it's a different form of art, and if you are not like a traditional artist, you may not know who Bob Ross is, or if it
Right.
wasn't something you grew up, watching. There's no
We don't
shame in that, but
we don't watch too much of Bob Ross on the
but,
Hood.
no, probably not. I mean, I didn't know about Bob Ross until after he passed on, later on in life, when I was educating myself on art, and I was just trying to learn everything I can about art because I am not a great artist, but I
Right.
love watching the artistic process, and I have a great eye for it, and part of being like, my job being a good editor is being able to talk people through what I see in their art and what procedures I feel that they could do better. So
Hmm.
by watching all these different artists, I learned. So he's one person that I looked at their stuff and watched and saw. But yeah, he was very famous for his scenic stuff and basically happy little trees. He had
Happy
this
little accidents
voice.
too, right?
Yeah, yeah, he was kind of like, there's art therapists nowadays. He kind of is what I would consider he probably was one of the first art therapists because he was doing art as a form of therapy and teaching people and speaking in that voice. But yeah, he was royally screwed. So back to the situation with the IIP. How important is it that creators own their own IPs?
It's super important because look, it's very hard to build an extremely lucrative product in one lifetime, right? Something that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It usually doesn't happen in a lifetime. But if it's something that I can start up and give to my children and then give to my children's children, that's something that's important to me. Because, again, growing up in the hood, my parents were low income family. Uh, they almost had nothing to give me as I became an adult, right? And they're barely leaving anything behind the day they go, which is something I also want to help with. But yeah, I think it's the fact that personally for me, from my situation, coming from a neighborhood, a family that owns nothing, and being able to earn something worth as much as I feel the Vale Walker could be worth at some point to pass on to my future, then yeah, I think that's super important.
I love that. So you went educated yourself. And I think a lot of the process with comics, it's not only creating the comics, but there's a lot of education that has to go into it. So how did you look into all of this stuff? Like like how did you find the information to know that you were going to have complete control of your stuff? You know, I want you to kind of guide people.
Yeah, a lot of it came from music. If you grew up
Ah,
listening to hip hop, Jay-Z would always say stuff like he was the owner of his masters and this and that. And then you start to look into it, what the hell is Jay-Z talking about? Masters this, masters that. And then being Hispanic, there's a guy called Daddy Yankee, which I'm pretty sure a lot have heard about.
yeah, Daddy Yankee and
Gasolina.
Tego Calderon too is another one.
Exactly,
So,
right? There you go.
so
You're showing your
big
colors
where
there.
I grew up, where
Yeah,
like the neighborhood I grew up, because I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood. A lot of people know that about me. The Point
there you
in
go.
Salem, so or El Punto.
El
So,
punto. Girl, are you
yep,
Hispanic? Don't lie to me. Don't hide it. She's like, no.
nope.
So
La
Daddy
Blanquita.
Yankee. So Daddy Yankee, that was actually pretty good. Daddy Yankee was also one that was super adamant about always saying and throwing it in other people's faces that, hey, I own all my masters. And you hear that enough growing up that once you get to an age where you're like, okay, hold on, what the hell are our masters? You start to correlate that with anything else you're making. So owning your IP as as an artist, as a writer, basically equivalent or is equivalent to owning your masters. So that's kind of where I got the information from and just doing some research. But it was them who sparked that interest in saying, what is owning masters and what is owning IP? What is owning my name, my identity, my characters? And from there, it's just Google. Google saved my life.
Google saved your life. I love that. I love that. All right, so I'm debating, do I want to get into this project right now? Yeah, let's get into it because I love this trailer, and if anyone here has not backed this book, there's going to be so many reasons why you should back this book. For one, I can tell you if you just want one copy, depending on what cover you want, you can spend $8, and then you don't have to spend $10 for shipping, guys, $20 for shipping. You're spending $3 for shipping.
Everybody's
so
beating me up. All the other creators are like, "How dare you charge $3
but
shipping US?"
do you want to explain how that happened for you? Like, you know,
Yeah,
how are you able to do this? Explain this before I go into this, because I
of
think people
course.
are curious.
A lot of people are. So I kind of chalked up this campaign and this first book as a loss in regards to profit. There's no profit coming in from this book. My purpose from issue number one was to build as much of an audience as possible. Right? I've already invested so much money into it that it's like, you know what? At this point, I just want people to have it in their hands. I want people to read it. I want people to give us feedback. So we kind of initially months ago, I had already bought all the mailers. I bought all the packing material. And basically, all people are paying for in regards to the $3 shipping is basically the sticker cost of printing it out and sending it out, to them. So yeah, my purpose was charging $8 per book, which was pretty much the lowest I could possibly charge at the point, because it's such a low. I was expecting a low volume for our first campaign. Uh, that's why I'm charging $8 and then $3 shipping USA. And I'm also providing a $5 PDF for people overseas who didn't want to take a chance on a first time buyer and said, I'm not going to spend. If for somebody who's paying $20 shipping for Australia or something, they would typically look at my higher tiers, which are the two foil covers for $50, plus all the add-ons that it brings. So I was like, yo, I'm not expecting a lot of people to back that. So here's a $5 PDF that it's really hard to say no to. And then bring that ass over here for issue two.
All right, let's take a look at this, everybody. We have 9 days left in this campaign, so back it. And why does everybody want to back it now during these 9 days that are left? You want to explain why?
We are not going another 30 days and we are not going in demand. And I will tell you why. Because we are launching issue two. Hopefully, our goal is to launch on October 31st if I've shipped all of the books for issue one. So we're printing mid October, 2 week turnaround on that. And I'm immediately grabbing those books and shipping them out. So if most of the books have arrived to their backers by Halloween, we are launching on Halloween Day, and we're going to keep it moving. No 30-day extension, no in demand.
So, guys, you back your book. The turnover time for your book is probably going to be about what, 2-3 weeks? About
Less than a month.
less
Less
than a
than
month. Less than a freaking month. You're not going to have to wait a year for this product
book's
or
already
book, I should
done.
say. The book's
the
already
It's
done.
done. We're doing some final touches, organizing the word bubbles, but the book is done. The PDF version of the book is actually going out 2 or 3 days after the campaign closes. So
Oh,
you'll
that's
probably
good to
have that first.
know.
But yeah.
All right, let me stop my camera so I can. It's Mercury retrograde right now, and my computer always acts up because I'm not one of these female streamers that has like a fancy light or has like the fancy camera. I don't. So my laptop, like, it just goes junky. So
Oh no.
let's fix this. Oh, trust me, I look a whole shade of white that I'm not even in reality because I'm half Armenian. I'm actually dark. Like, I look lighter than Spencer, and Spencer is pale. No offense, Spencer, on the screen. Like, people when they
Pale
see
is
me in
beautiful.
person, they're like I don't know, I'm a hippie to him. People always tell me when they see me in person, like, "Wow, you're really tan." Like, "Oh, gee, thanks." It's my light that sucks and my camera that sucks. I know.
It's funny.
Can't
I've
even
had a lot of I had a lot of people like, oh, your setup is so great. Did you use YouTube before? And I'm like, no, dude, I actually used to do photography. So I had like this DSLR sitting around for like a
You
year.
have like a very clean picture.
I have a DSLR with like a pancake lens and it looks all fancy and stuff, but legit, I just used to take pictures for fun.
I wouldn't even know what to do with that. I'd be so confused. I am like the worst female ever and the worst technical person ever. All right.
No,
I'm gonna remember to share system audio.
audio is
So,
very important in this trailer.
yeah, it needs it. So let me go back up. We could play your other two videos too that you have. I was going
No,
through everything. So
I
yeah,
see that.
well, I was trying to figure out where to go, what to ask you. You've been on a lot of shows, and I try to steer away from I know some things everyone has to repeat, but I try to steer away from having people talk about the same things over and over again. But
Yeah,
obviously when it comes to the campaign, I want you to talk about your campaign and cuz that's our focus. Here we go.
Lord, the Grand Inquisitor, the Veilguard's greatest champion, stands as our only line of defense. This perilous journey will change him forever, and the fate of our world will rest on his shoulders. The dark fantasy will keep you turning the pages for more. Will Alexander be our salvation or our doom?
All right. So, this campaign trailer was sick. It drew me in. So, I was
thank you.
kind of laughing because so many people were like, "Hey Kayla, have you checked this out? Have you seen this campaign?" So, I'm like the CIA when campaigns come out and stuff. I kind of already know. I knew this was like dark fantasy stuff, like the elements of horror, sci-fi stuff that I really enjoy. I love. So I remember I contacted you and I was
Yep.
like, I want you on my show.
And this
I,
is before you knew that the story takes place in Salem.
I actually overlooked that
Mm.
surprisingly because I was so distracted going through just what the story was about itself and the artwork in it. I just was drawn in, and the trailer's great. Who made the trailer? Did you do the trailer? Who did the trailer for you?
I wish I did the trailer. No, that was my co-creator, co-writer, editor, man of many hats, HP Francisco. He not only did the trailer, he also did the voiceover for the trailer. That's
Oh,
him.
really?
Yeah, yeah, another Boston native. He's out there in Haverhill right now.
Oh, he's in Haverhill.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is it Haverhill? Do you say Haverhill? I say Haverhill for some reason.
We say Haverhill. We
Haverhill.
don't pronounce it. It's like, like so like Dorchester. People,
Mm,
Gloucester. People be like Gloucester. I'm like, what the hell is a Gloucester? Like it's Gloucester.
Gloucester.
We don't pronounce anything correctly out here. So I'm constantly screwing up people's names and the titles of their stories and I'm
I'm
like
glad.
the Vale Walker. Like there's an A at the end.
That sounds
So,
better. I like it.
but yeah,
We're gonna
so
change it.
25 pages, action thriller. Vale Walker number one introduces us to a world of horrors ruled from the shadows by an ancient institution of magicians called the Order of the Vale Guard. That sucked me right in. Readers will follow the exploits of this order's most decorated inquisitor, Alexander Salvador, infamously known as the Veil Walker. Whew, I was like, I need to know more about this.
I wish more people would read that. A lot of people are like, "Hey, what's this about?" I'm like, "Did you read the first paragraph?"
I went through the whole thing. That's why I contacted you immediately. And then you started like getting a lot of volume. And I was happy for you because this is a book that I personally was so intrigued by. So I was like, I have to have you on. I'm like, I know I'm not as big as the other people, but I have to have you on because I'm passionate about this project because this is something that is up my alley. I'm going to back it. I want to
Thank
read
you.
it. I want
Thank
to
you.
see where it goes.
I might drop it off in person. We're going up to Massachusetts later this year. So you might get it before I go up there. But but yeah, it's definitely it's a passion project. Me and Hans or HP Francisco are very very um in tune, and we really like this genre, that we're sort of creating, and we think we have a super awesome mix of elements, and I'm just glad that there are some people who are as interested in this mix as we are, and right there what you're looking at is actually page number 2 ripped right out of issue 1. um so I
Like,
think
look at
that
this. I'm like, is this alien? Is this demon? What is this?
w-
Like so many questions come to mind. Don't spoil it because
no, I won't, but wait till
I'm
you
like,
guys see what those tentacle thingies are attached to. It's not what you guys are expecting. But yeah, there's our main character, a few scenes of him, and somewhat of a hero pose right before, we had some beautiful colors by
"Yeah, look
Leonardo.
at this
But
a good looking man.
I mean,
He's a
you
handsome
know,
guy.
he resembles my family. He's modeled after my older brother. So a lot of people think he's a self-insert of myself. I'm like, no, 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 no. He's much taller and much more handsome than I am. So,
He
but
has
yeah,
some sex appeal for women readers.
what's funny? When we were messing around initially, we would say, Bruce Wayne and Superman, watch yourselves, because Alexander's coming for your ladies.
I love it.
So we'll mess around. We will call him, like the sexiest superhero and stuff like that. So, hey, if we can make, female characters super attractive for men, or at least indies are doing it. Why not make, a male character, traditionally attractive for women? Why not, right?
Why not, right? I mean, look, he got a nice fade here. He has a nice goatee. He's wearing a suit.
Some
Women
people
like
think
men in suits, you know.
a suit is a man's, what's it, like a little black dress?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
So this was Salem, Mass, and I remember you pointed this out to me, and I was like, "How did I miss this?" I'm like, "This is not this is not where I grew up in Salem. They have money."
Yeah.
That's-
No, what that is actually it's an asylum. It's not a home, So we initially started to look locally at Salem and try to figure out, okay. So
so
I drew the story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So a place that is called an asylum out here, one of the places they actually featured in Hocus Pocus, and it actually is very similar to this building. It's by the Commons area in my town. It's called like Salem Commons.
Okay.
So I'm curious, is that maybe one of the
Inspirations.
yeah.
So when we initially started looking and designing the story, we hadn't done research in regards to what asylums were actually in Salem. Then we were like, damn, does Salem even have an asylum? So we had to sort of look into it, and the one that kept coming up was that big old mental hospital that got, I think, demolished not too long ago. Do you remember which one I'm talking about? I think it was in
So Danvers, so that was the Danvers
Danvers,
State Hospital, but Danvers used to be Salem. And a lot of people don't realize that. So a lot of the tourists that come out here, they come into Salem, but really where they want to be is in Danvers.
which is in
Because
Danvers was the town of Salem where the witches actually got tried, no?
yeah, it wasn't even as much in this town as what people think.
Hmm.
That's why I'm like, go to Danvers.
Danvers is where you guys want to
I'm
be.
done with tourists.
That's where Witch Hill is, right?
Mhm.
So,
Oh, here we
so
have Gallows Hill, where there were like some things that went down at Gallows Hill and everything. It's Salem has a more complex history because even though this is the town of Salem, Salem used to be really large, and this
hmm
part of Salem was where the East India Trading Company was out of, for the most part, which
because
they
it's
were
a
like
port.
one of the largest trading companies during that time period.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
So we started to do that research, and we found the hospital, and we're like, okay, well, the hospital doesn't really fit the field that we want to go for. So we actually wrote something into the story that explains this. The most I can say is it's a privately owned asylum,
okay.
and I can't say anything else because it will ruin certain elements of the story and where we're going with it.
Don't
Uh,
dox my house now.
no,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So,
so yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and we wanted to write something, and we wanted to start the story in a place that me and my co-creator and co-writer were familiar with, which was Massachusetts, and we both really liked Salem and the witches and all that happened there, and you know, here we are.
I'm just scrolling through before we go through everything you got to offer because I like to show everyone. I don't like to rush through campaigns. I like to show everything that you have to offer, and I think it gives you a chance to, talk a little more about why you went with certain choices.
Yeah.
So,
So I can actually show you guys the first color choice, because a lot of people are like, man, that color choice you currently have is gnarly. But we didn't get it on the first try.
let's see.
If I can find the book
All
somewhere.
right, I'm going to keep scrolling down so everyone that's watching can see this.
Right.
You can stop at any point if there's something you want to make a comment about. I'm just scrolling for anyone to take a look.
So, well, I can't find the book I wanted to show you, but it was like the original coloring of these pages were just so flat. They were traditionally colored, like, any other comic book that you can pull off of the shelf right now. So,
Okay.
I felt like it didn't meet the tone. It was too bright.
I agree with
So,
you. I like flat coloring, but I could not see this being flat.
right. It didn't feel grungy and old enough. And again, this is supposed to be sort of like an action thriller horror where, thank you, appreciate you. Where you're supposed to fear for the people who are involved. So eventually, that's when we were referred to Leonardo, and I was like, Leo, I need this to have some depth. I need this to feel grungy. I need it to feel dark. And eventually, this is what he turned in, and I've been awestruck with his skills ever since. But yeah, this what we're currently looking at is an 8-page preview, because this last page is supposed to be a double splash. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, so it's, if I can show you here actually. So this is like a huge double splash page.
Oh, so you have a nice glossy pages too, it looks like, at least
So
from.
on this particular sample, we wanted to test out the glossy pages.
Okay.
I didn't like them.
You didn't end up doing it? What did you end up
Nope.
doing?
So we're doing a matte finish.
Oh, okay, so a matte finish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one with you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I just want to see how it's conveyed. Oh, it still has a nice.
Has a little bit of a shine to it,
Yeah,
right?
it still does have a nice little shine to it though.
But if you
But I
can,
can see the color pops a lot better with the more
right?
yeah.
You see. So that's
Oh,
a good
okay.
thing. I'll tell every future creator out there, invest in samples, even if the book isn't done. Invest up front in samples, and my camera just keeps bugging out. Sorry about that.
It's Mercury retrograde, I told you.
That's what it is. Invest in getting some upfront samples and really feeling the quality and having it in your hands, and that's really going to do two things. It's going to motivate you to continue and to really deliver on what you have, and it's going to also allow you to see, the quality of it, because the last thing you want is to go with a printer, and then once you have 1,000 books in your garage, you look at them and you're like, this isn't what I wanted, you know.
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah. And then that reflects poorly, because if you don't feel comfortable with the product, I'm pretty sure your backers aren't going to like what they receive either, so but yeah, so what we were looking at it was 8 pages that we put together a few years ago in regards to getting the tone, the feel, and just understanding what I wanted the Veil Walker to look like, how I wanted it to read, how I wanted it to flow. And we gave those pages away for free for a long time, just to sort of build up an audience and build up a following before we started these campaigns.
So this was something that I loved, that you had the lore up here, like a little background on the lore, the setup of everything. So I loved this. Do you want to just speak about this in short? Do you want me to read through it? What do you want? Because I think this is important that people understand some of the lore about this story,
Yeah.
because it's unique to me, and it caught me. Like I said, when I first saw this campaign, I fell in love with it. I did. I had messaged you and I was started retweeting it, and
Thank you.
I just,
You were one of the first. You got me on a lot of people's radar, so thank you for that.
so
But
I'm gonna leave it up, but in your words,
yeah, so I think this is something that the person really needs to go and read it and look at it for themselves. It's not the same when somebody else reads it to you. Uh, the only request I would ever make to anyone is actually take a second, go read those 2 paragraphs, because you're going to get a lot of information from it, um, that'll help you better understand the world that we're setting up, the story that we're trying to tell, because it's a very long format story that we're going to do. I mean, we're going to be telling the story for the next 10 years. So really personally, I think they need to read it for themselves, which I know a lot of people don't. Once they get past the pretty pictures, their mind is already made up if they're going to back it or not.
see me, I'm a reader.
Hmm.
Art is a bonus for me. I Can I tell you, I am more apt, and people are gonna hate me and I say this all the time. I am more apt to buy a book with crappy artwork where the writing is phenomenal and the storyline is good.
Right.
I'm the person that is more like to buy that book than a book with great art and a super crappy storyline that doesn't make sense. There's not a plot there. There's not a clear protagonist or antagonist. There's not well developed characters. There's not a world that I can escape to, because the thing about comics that I love is just the escape factor,
Right.
you know? Especially like a dark fantasy type like this.
Yeah. One
So
thing. One thing when we were developing the story, and I think I alluded to it earlier, was we put Alexander on the back burners for a long time, because after we had the character sort of developed, we were like, all right, let's build a world that we think would fit this character pretty well. So then we started developing the world, the elements. That's where the Order of the Veil Guard came in. We started developing the magic system, how that worked. And then once we had the world built, sort of based off of the blueprint of one character, then we went and made adjustments to the character to make sure that he fit into the world, not that the world fit around him. And what this allows us
mhm.
to do is now, if Alexander, for X or Y reason, no spoilers, is gone and is no longer part of the story, we can continue to tell, intriguing and unique stories within the world, because we really took the time to develop it on its own.
I love a well-built world. That is why I'm drawn to anything fantasy, because of the world building.
Hmm.
It's so important. And because of that factor, there can always be someone that steps up in some way if the world is built correctly though.
Hmm.
If your world is not built correctly in a fantasy, I'm sorry, you don't have a story. The character and the world need to be on par with each other. Whatever
Yeah.
character you're introducing first is your protagonist.
Yeah.
They
And,
have to
and
be on par with the world.
and this might be blasphemy what I'm about to say, but if we look at Batman, what is Batman without Bruce Wayne? What is Batman without the Batman, right? They
So
have
what
some
is
great
Batman
characters.
without Gotham?
Right. So Gotham is important, right? But why haven't they sort of removed Bruce Wayne yet? Because he is too integral to the world itself. Like everything revolves around Batman for the most part, or Bruce Wayne, if we
That's
want to be
true.
specific. So for me, the world of the Veilwalker does not revolve around Alexander. Alexander is a cog in this much larger machine of things that are happening now. We are telling his story, his very small story within this much larger organization and world. And hopefully, we'll start to reveal a lot of secrets and a lot of things that are going on in this world, that we can only tell from the point of view of a character that things don't revolve around. At least we think they don't.
Are you guys intrigued now? Are you are you guys backing this book now? You have 9 days left to back. Just saying. I haven't even gone through everything yet. Real quick, I'm just
Hmm.
gonna read the lore for people that aren't gonna read it. I have to. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the lore for this story here is the Veil Walker takes place in a world where a small percentage of the population is born with the gift. which allows those granted with it to use their mana to cast all kinds of spells. To protect those aforementioned from not only the ignorance of man, but also the evil spawn of the Vale. The Order of the Vale Guard was established in the late Middle Ages. For centuries, the order has balanced the study of the Vale and maintained not just its secrecy, but that of the gifted population as a whole. The Vale and why it has weakened at an exponential rate still remains shrouded, and in the days to come, Alexander will witness the Vale ripped asunder like never before. I mean, how does that not draw you in?
I'm blushing.
So, when I said I wanted you on here, I wanted you on here for a reason. This storyline is phenomenal.
Thank you.
You and your editor did great work together, putting this together. So I know I just like didn't even make any sense, but you guys really take the time to read through this. I think, a lot of times, not that I have heard many people complain about things that they have backed, is that you're backing books because you like the look of it. You're not reading through what everything is about and finding out the heart of the story. The heart of this story is here for you to see. You know
I'm
what you're getting
guilty.
into.
I'm guilty of it. I've backed some books that I've gotten that they look great, and then I put them on the shelf, never to be read. I
So
think the Veilwalker is something that absolutely, and not to toot my own horn, but absolutely needs to be read.
it's something that is needed right now, I feel, within the comic genre. We need more of this kind of dark fantasy, but it's a very hard genre to do, in my opinion. It's a very hard genre to do, and I think that's why so many people try to they stay away from it. They stay away from fantasy as a whole.
I
So,
guess a lot of people are trying to avoid, like, oh, if we do a dark fantasy, we don't want it to end up looking like one of those Netflix series or something, you know?
but you don't
And
write your comic for Netflix. You're writing it for yourself and
correct,
for
you
people
know,
to read.
yeah. So this, look, I'll tell you this. The Witcher came out, I think it was like 2014, 2015. The Witcher 3, the video game.
Yep.
And as we were developing everything and we were adding elements to the world, we sat down, and me and HP are just, he's watching me play The Witcher in my apartment in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Did
And
you
we're
ever
just,
read the books that went with
I,
The Witcher?
I, I didn't read the books. I have the comics behind me.
Okay, so there were books first, and I
Yes,
highly suggest read Elric by Michael Moorcock.
I definitely will. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the first Witcher books was called The Gift.
I believe so. Yes.
People might know kind of where I got the name for The Gifted from now, right? There was a huge Witcher influence. But as I'm playing The Witcher 3 and we're, halfway through developing the world and the characters, was like, damn, what would The Witcher 3 be like if it were set in modern day? And we kind of looked at each other, and then we looked at my desk where we had all these drawings of Alexander, and we're like, huh, so that's what we're doing. It's basically The Witcher in modern day with a whole bunch of other twists, but in its essence, its core, there's a lot of that there. So, you know, when we saw that, we knew that this is something that we have to tell. If this is a question that we're asking ourselves, there has to be other people who are asking themselves the same thing.
Well, I
So,
can imagine how it would look in Massachusetts. There would be a lot of freaking death. A lot of death. We're fighters out here. You're in
100%.
Lawrence. You're in Lawtown.
It was not easy. The fact that we made it out
So
alive is testament enough.
that is, I go up there to get my Spanish food, though. I'm not going to lie to you, but
At
that
the
is
bodegas, the fried chicken.
in the Típicos too. You got to go to
Hmm.
both, but the bodegas, you can just get pastelitos there. You can get like a Cuban the sandwiches. Like,
Yeah.
well, I know, like Jamaican beef patties. Yeah,
Stop.
let me
Stop.
stop.
I'm, I'm I'm in
The potato
Orlando.
balls? The
Yes,
potato balls with the
with
beef
the
in the
little ground beef inside. Yeah. Listen, stop. I'm in Orlando, and I don't have any Dominican restaurants around me. It's none but Puerto Rican restaurants. Now, mind you, before anybody throws up a hissy fit, I'm Puerto Rican, so I can talk crap about Puerto Ricans. I can do that. But yeah, so there's none but Puerto Rican restaurants around me. So I miss my town. So I'll go visit at some point. We actually have our 3D printer for our 3D models that we're going to be doing in issue 2, they're based out of Haverhill. So I'm going to be up there pretty soon. Papas rellenas, that's it.
I would love to hear Spencer say that.
Surprised Spencer knows what they are.
Oh yeah, Spencer grew up a lot like I did, just in Connecticut. So,
There you go.
but hold on, I'm gonna stop my camera so we can look at these 2 videos before we get into all your stuff here.
Cool.
All right, let's watch this one real quick. Oh, I can't full screen it, but so this is. Do you want to talk about what that was?
Yeah, so that is the
I'm
main
gonna
cover.
replay it while you.
Sure, that is the main cover hollow foil. The main cover hollow foil. Sorry, so that's what I have here. But I put up those videos because I knew that once I started streaming and trying to show it on streams, it doesn't do it justice because of the glare and whatnot. But once you see those in that video, you can see how beautiful that hollow foil is. Now let me give you guys a bit of trivia about the hollow foils. I absolutely refused to offer them at first.
Why?
The cost. It was a cost.
Mm.
So HP.
What's the cost difference? Like, I'm curious.
So
What and like
I can print 5 regular comics compared to 1 hollow foil for the same price.
okay.
So you kind of have to consider that. So which means you have to like increase the price on the hollow foil covers. And I sat around and I'm like, dude, like I dare not charge anybody $25 for a hollow foil, which is like the lowest we could possibly go. And HP was like, dude, order a hollow foil, take a look at it, and then you can make that decision. Once they both came in, I was like, yeah, we have to do it. Like they just look so beautiful. And luckily, it's been the hottest seller on this campaign. People love it.
That's awesome. All right. So you have unlocked some of your stretch goals. So that means anyone that backs is automatically going to get stretch goals, pretty much.
Yes. So let me tell it like this. I think it's the easiest way to explain it. Anybody who backs just the regular issue at $8 is also getting a 6x9 printout, which is this right here.
All right, let's see it. You got them, so let's see them.
I got them. So for $8.
Bookmarks. I love bookmarks. That's
right?
My thing.
Yeah, $8. So comic book 6x9 printout signed. I'm not gonna charge you guys for signing it. We have a huge bookmark, so it won't get lost inside the book. Double-sided as well, which I know a lot of people only send single-sided printed bookmarks. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. We are getting 2 stickers, right? One of the Alexander and then one of our company logo at Owasi Comics. And we've also unlocked, which I don't have yet, we actually just sent to print, the playing card for Samantha Redcroft, which is our beautiful protege to Alexander. And that is her right there.
Maybe even a love interest. Who knows? We'll have to read it and find out. Never know.
You'll have to read it. You guys will be surprised. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that it could go. She could even turn into a villain. Who knows? You gotta read it. Gotta find out.
We're gonna be telling the story for a long time. So a lot of friends might become villains. Villains might become friends, and people that we thought long gone might come back. This is one hell of a ride. And yeah, funny story. We actually once we funded the campaign, one of the stretch goals was 4 pages of additional story pages, and the book initially was 21 pages, and we had the 4 additional pages set somewhere on the higher end of our stretch goals. But once we hit funding, we hit goal in like 5 hours. I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and unlock those pages, right? We're not going to wait for it. I really want people to get the full story. So, I took out another loan at the bank. No, I'm kidding. But, I went ahead and funded the additional 4 pages out of pocket. And, here we are. So.
Let's see what else. Let's see where you're at. You have a lot of, I mean, case file. That's like interesting to me.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do with that is like legitimately send you a case file,
He has the
uh,
card here too. So
and there's a close up of the card. Yeah. So we wanted to send you like a legitimate case file, as if something that would have been handed to Alexander right before he went to investigate this particular case. So it was legitimately going to be like an in canon, in world, physical piece of paper in like one of those detective envelopes, and you were going to feel like you were a Vale guard being sent on a mission.
you know what? If you don't hit the goal, and you know what, you still gonna make that happen somehow, some way, make it as its own an add-on for your next campaign.
Most
Because
likely.
that's something I would be interested in, and I think that's something a lot of people would be interested in. Obviously, I want you to hit your stretch goal, but
So everybody can get it, right?
yeah, I want everyone to get it. I mean, but I want it. So so
We'll we're already
think about
considering.
it.
Yeah, of
Consider
course.
it.
No, we're already considering a lot of things that, if we don't hit these particular stretch goals, or we had these ideas in mind that, if we don't hit them here, I think, we'll either add them on to campaign number two as, part of a bigger package. Because
Yep.
one thing that a lot of people recommend is like, hey, your most expensive package before the original cover art is $50. I think if you add some more stuff, you can definitely uh, get a bit more, because people are willing to invest in physical things and new products and whatnot. So we might end up adding it to issue number two.
I'd like to see this hit at least 3 grand by the end of this. At least. I'd like you to hit all 7 grand, but I'd like you to hit at least 3 grand by the end of your campaign.
I
You can
think
do
we'll.
it. I
I
think you'll
think we
go over
will.
it.
Yeah, I'm adamant that we're gonna at least touch around 4 grand. That's kind of where my leveled expectation was.
All right. So your featured perk here.
Mhm. It's our foil Inquisitor pack. So what it includes is both foil covers, $25 each, right? Because the pack is $50. And if you get both foil covers in this package, you're also getting two playing cards, one for the Vale Walker and one for Alexander. And then you're also getting this pretty snazzy pin that is the insignia pin for the Order of the Vale Guard. So basically, you are being initiated. If a demon or a monster or a Vale spawn comes after you, after putting this pin on, I am not legally liable for any damages that it causes. Cool?
That makes sense. So here's the PDF of issue 1 that you said this will be available 3 days after the campaign ends. You're going to send it out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
$5, guys.
$5, right? If you don't want to take a huge chance, you're just a little tight, ask your mama for $5. That's all you need.
It's the $3 shipping, everyone, for any of these covers, or I'm assuming even the $50 perk, right? 3
Mm-hmm.
shipping.
To my
Yeah.
detriment, but yes, $3 shipping.
So the main cover here for issue 1.
That's it. Just $8. Total of $11. I think
You can't beat that.
it's one of the best deals in comics, because remember, you're getting that plus all of the stretch goals.
I think it's a great deal.
The George Fornes cover. For those who don't know, George Fornes actually just got off of a 12-issue run on Rorschach for Tom King. I know Tom King isn't one of the most loved individuals in indie comics, and I thought it was quite ironic.
You know what?
Uh,
You know what it is, though? Can I be honest with you?
yeah.
Sometimes people got to separate the person from what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain stuff that I like, that other people, they don't like the person. I could give a shit less, to be honest. I just want to read a good book. I'm not a big Tom King person, to be honest, but I am familiar with this artist name.
Yeah, what I thought was kind of ironic is, even after everything he did to get somebody, I forget his name, the guy who did the Cyberfrog cover, he tried to get him canceled.
Are you talking about EVS?
Yeah, so there's a guy who did a Cyberfrog cover for EVS, the Tom King,
Oh,
Jay
Jay
Lee.
Lee. Oh, that was, yeah, I can't even.
So what's funny is that here's one of your artists on your book doing a cover for a Comicscape book.
You know why? Because any artist or writer,
100%.
okay, in my opinion, that is a supporter of creativity and art and the process of writing and comics itself is not going to display any of the crazy behavior that people have been displaying. You know, I can't even get into it because I'm not big on dealing with drama, you know.
Right.
I don't deal with drama.
Same.
It's just not me. I'm not about any of that. But it's about creating comics. We just want to create good comics. People just want to create good comics. They want to read good comics, you know? And that's it, period. So I don't think, you know, any real artist, any real writer, they're going to do whatever they want to do in order to create a good comic book or create good art. None of that should matter. It's ridiculous. The judgment. It's insane.
Yeah. One
So
thing is I think people, as you mentioned earlier, like we need to separate, the artist from the art. Like, why is it that it's okay for us to still listen to Michael Jackson, even after everything that came out of, around him? But there are some creators that say something, half-assed, and
I'm
all of
gonna
a sudden they're getting canceled. So
I'm gonna support who I want to support, point blank period. That's just
yeah,
me personally. I don't care. As long as it's a good book, the art's good, good writing, whatever the case, I support whoever I want to support. Nobody's buying my books for me. I
yep,
look at it that way. Now, anyone that has anything to say about whoever I'm choosing to support, you know, buy my books. You're not. So they have no right to say. And
yeah,
it's crazy. However, Spencer, we need to learn to live with people having dumb opinions. And that's a fact. You know, everyone has opinion. Opinions are everywhere. We all have them.
I think people have always had opinions, and people have always had dumb opinions. It's just they're all magnified now because of social media.
It,
So that's one thing I do. I
mm,
don't really pay much attention to
yeah,
social
you
media.
go on and do your book, and that's all you need to do. You don't got to worry about anything else. And this is a
Hmm.
great project here.
Thank
So,
you. And then yeah, so finishing off the
individual
perks.
foil the individual foil cover.
Yeah, so we have both individual foil covers at 25 a piece. Again, just $3 shipping USA, and then all the way down here at the bottom, we
Guard
have the
pack.
Veilguard pack, which basically is everything that's included in the foil Inquisitor pack. It's the two covers are the regular covers and not the foil covers.
Then we have some original art here.
By Sir Joshua, can I tell you a story about this original art?
Yeah.
I don't want to sell it.
So you priced it up that high so you can keep it.
I put, you knew it. You knew it. So I was practically forced to put it on the campaign. And I said, fine, if I put it on the campaign, it's going to be $10,000. And they're like, nobody's going to buy it for $10,000. Be reasonable. I was like, all right, what's reasonable? They're like 1,000. And I'm like, nope, 2,500. And I'll tell you why. I really don't want to sell it. I really want that to be a piece of history that I can keep in my family for a really long time. Because I believe the Vale Walker and the cover for the Vale Walker #1 is going to be special, and it's going to be history at some point. I might sound crazy, I might sound conceited, but I've put in so much work into this project that if I didn't believe that, I would be doing everyone else a disservice.
No, I love it because you need to believe in your project. You know what I'm saying? Why go into something if you don't believe in it and you're not passionate about it? So that
Yeah,
says a lot about you. Basically, what you're doing is you're manifesting. I mean, Spencer's going to be like, "Oh, Kayla's going to go into her hippie stuff right now." I already know him rolling his eyes behind the screen someplace in Connecticut. But now, what you're doing is you're, believe it so you can achieve it. It's manifesting basically.
yeah,
You're manifesting your own reality and you're putting the work towards it because that's the goal with manifestation.
yeah.
So,
I've been doing that for a large portion of my life. I remember I used to live in Lawrence, and before I moved to Miami, I would watch Will Smith's "Welcome to Miami" video. I'm like, I'm going, I'm moving, I'm leaving this hellhole, right? I'm leaving Massachusetts. and I'm going somewhere where the weather is nicer and the taxes are lower. And eventually I made it. So I'm gonna keep that going and uh, manifest the Veilwalker into a smash hit at some point.
Who has given you the best advice when it comes to this project?
Who has given me the best advice when it comes to this project? Now, uh, cheating would be me saying HP Francisco, because he legitimately has given me so much advice, so much editorial work. So that would be my cheating answer. That's the too easy answer.
I don't want
Uh,
the easy answer though.
so who has given me the best advice? I would say that's a tough one. I need to sort of, I'm analyzing in my head and I'm trying not to make too much dead air. So I would say it was probably between my colorist, Leo,
Mhm.
because he has been very vocal in regards to everything we're doing, and not just this particular issue, but a lot of things that we're doing moving into issue 2. A lot of that has come from him and his expertise. But also, it was there was a particular YouTuber, a particular member of Comicsgate, uh, that I requested something from. He kindly denied it and told me that's not how you should do this. Do it this way. Develop it this way. And I took that at heart and kept rolling. So I'm not gonna say who it was, but that individual probably.
All right. I love that. So you're learning from
Fellow
everyone
creators.
you're around and just so whoever you reached out to, their work must impact you in some way that you took what they said seriously to an extent.
Of course, not just
So,
the
yeah.
work, the success, right? The
Yeah.
success in regards to building a community and getting a product out there for people. So yeah, it's I am a glutton for feedback. I want feedback. I look for mentors. I look for people to learn from. Because one thing that I learned early in my life was the second that we believe we've mastered something or that we're so good at something that we can't listen to somebody else's criticisms is the day that one, we stop improving, and the day that we stop being good at something.
I love
Uh,
that because I'm a big person, right? Continually educate yourself and be open to hear more
mhm.
because you don't ever want to master anything. And I say this to a lot of people. And the reason why you never want to master everything is because there's always going to be a newer way, a better way, a faster way to do something. And if
Yep.
you're not willing to be open to learn about that, how can you better your process? You
Mhm.
never want to master anything. And people think
Uh,
I'm crazy. They're like, "No, the
no,
minute you think you master something is the minute that you set yourself up for failure."
100%. So that's kind of it's exactly how I look at it. Is I've never said, and I'm a salesman. I sell insurance. I've done marketing for a long time in corporate America. Um, and one of the things is I've never mastered the sale, right? Because I'm always going to encounter on a week to week basis somebody with a personality that I haven't before, that are going to have rebuttals that I never experienced. So I'm always learning how to improve as a salesman, as build someone who needs to build rapport, and that sort of crept into my my writing. Right, the second that I believe that I'm a master writer is the second that my books start to absolutely suck because I've stopped improving.
You know what? I respect that. I have a lot of respect for you as an individual because you are
Thank you.
someone that is about growth. Okay?
Hmm.
Growth. And when I say growth, it's because to me, when people ask me, what's the meaning of life? I say it's to continually pursue knowledge because knowledge allows you to grow. So does failure, you know?
Yep.
What is something, have you failed at all within this campaign or putting together this campaign? You
Hell
know, and
yeah.
if so, like what would you consider something that was like a big failure, but you were able to turn it around and make it a success for this?
So let's go all the way back to my first campaign in 2018. I reached out to someone on Indiegogo. I've said it before. I reached out to John Malin to find a mentor, and this is back in, again, yeah, it was early 2018. And I asked, hey, bro, what's your secret? What type of
Sorry, I gotta eat a Slim Jim. I'm sorry. So you go
another
ahead.
one? I was like, what was your secret to what was your secret sauce on that Facebook marketing, and did you even use it? Unfortunately, he didn't reach out, which is totally understandable. He was a super busy dude at the time. He didn't know who I was. But I failed. That campaign failed miserably. I had set it to a $36,000 goal because it was a 90-something page graphic novel.
Mm.
That amount of money was what it was going to cost for the art of the book alone, between the artists that I had involved. So you can see how expensive that was.
Was it? Do you feel that you just did not have enough knowledge at that time period?
I hadn't built, one was the knowledge in regards to putting a team together, managing a team, yes. But
Okay.
also it was not building up a fan base before taking such a big leap, right? Because even though the art looks great, I had some marvelous talent on it. People weren't going to take a chance on a writer they didn't know, and especially invest in a book that needed to hit $36,000 to fund. Like, that's exactly what we needed to hit. So, campaign failed. I invested a lot of money in marketing that I never was able to recoup. I'm always said it. I put $2,000 into Facebook marketing.
Ooh.
Biggest fail I ever had. Right. Biggest lesson I learned is Facebook marketing doesn't always work, especially when you don't know how to do it. So never again did we invest in like the Facebook marketing type of stuff. So yeah, I learned a lot from that particular campaign. That allowed me to go back to the drawing board and potentially improve the book. We did better writing. We did a few more passes in regards to the script, and then we divided it into issues. It was like, where are some natural breakpoints for this 90-something page graphic novel that we can go ahead and start putting out to the people? And then, yeah, that was my biggest failure that I turned around and took as my biggest lesson, or my biggest learning experience in regards to comic books. And after that, we've had 2 successful campaigns.
That's amazing. And you mentioned something, your team. How important is it that you find the right team to work with? And what is your definition of the right team?
For me, the right team and the right people for your team are people who are as eager to work on your book as you are to write it. And that is something that we have been learning throughout the process, and that we are going to continue to implement into all of our other books, all of our other stories. Is I want people to be as enthusiastic about the opportunity to draw Alexander or whatever else I'm doing as I am to provide this book to people, as enthusiastic as I am to provide this book to other people. So I think that's one of the most important things, because that passion for the project shows through on the page. And if somebody isn't as passionate for it, it's also going to show through. So good communication and passion, I think, are 2 of the most important things when it comes to building a team.
No, I agree with you. I love everything that you've been sharing. Give me 1 second. I've never had to do this, but I have to remove my cat from this room because I don't know if you've heard it. You thought your dog was bad? This is going to be incessant. So give me 1 second, and then I want to replay your trailer, and then anything else that you want to say about this campaign. Give me literally 1 second to open this door. Take this beast out.
So guys, remember, I'm going to fill up this dead air. The PDF is going to launch, and it's going to be in your inbox 3 days after the campaign closes. And the book is going to print a few days after the campaign closes as well. We're going to be shipping the book the week before and the week of Halloween. Hopefully, most of you will have the book by Halloween day.
I love it. You're awesome. Like, I wasn't going to be bad. I literally just had to open up a door. Literally, I love it though. I love that you just kept going. I've never had to get up before, but after last week's stream, one of my cats is getting bad. I'm gonna start looking like a crazy cat woman to people with
I
how
saw some
the
cats in that background, and I was like, "Oh snap! The Vale spawn's there to get Kayla." I was like, "What is that?" I was
Nah,
just
I
like,
think I'm good. I think in my case, they say cats are either they open the gates to heaven or hell.
mm-hmm,
My cat would probably, this one at least, open the gates to heaven, would protect me. In Egyptian mythology, think about it, Bastet, Sekhmet.
mm-hmm,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
What they represented. They also, like later down the line, they're saying like Bastet and Sekhmet are two heads of the same coin, just different. You got to look into it. If you're into Egyptian mythology, look into it. It's
I am.
very interesting. So, that's like I could talk for hours about that, and I don't want to keep you here much longer. So,
I gotta go sell some insurance tomorrow morning to some little old ladies. But I
I,
say I have two very different jobs, right? I have a day job where I go and sell insurance to little old ladies, Medicare, right? And
hmm
then my
You must get
dream job,
cussed out a lot.
no,
Really? Because you know what?
yeah,
You don't. They don't think that you're scamming. I don't know if
no,
maybe it's just a Massachusetts thing. How we are out here, we're just
probably
violent.
no. So the thing is, I got into sales in a product that people need the product. Like these elderly people have to have Medicare, right? So I'm basically selling them on something they already have and they absolutely need. And I feel
Oh.
similar to comic books, right?
I was gonna say you can correlate that to comics, right?
Yes, right. I feel similar to comics where I'm creating something that I feel people absolutely need, which is legitimately fun entertainment, stories with zero BS, like they used to tell back, at least for the most part, in the 90s. And
Mhm.
I feel like there hasn't been a new superhero that wasn't a manga that's been created in a long time that has sort of impacted the current youth like Spawn and Blade impacted me when those movies came out. When I hate to mention it, but the Power Rangers when they first started airing, like there hasn't been that thing that at least I've seen impact today's kids like that did us. So, hopefully I can do that. Or somebody here in the indie comic space could do that.
That was pretty deep. I'm not at a loss for words much. So, all right, I'm replaying this trailer because it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
So, let me stop this. Let me go here.
Share audio.
I think it's still good.
Oh,
So,
you have okay, good.
I think it's still good.
Yeah.
Alexander Salvador,
Salvador,
the
the
Grand
Grand
Inquisitor,
Inquisitor.
the Veilguard's greatest champion, stands as our only
Do you
line
have this
of defense.
memorized?
I do.
This perilous journey
You
will
go
change
ahead,
you
narrate.
forever.
No,
The fate of our world will rest on his
at his
shoulders.
shoulders.
Dark fantasy will keep you
We'll keep you
turning the
turning the
pages for
pages
more. Will Alexander be our salvation or
for
our
our
doom?
doom. Even though he narrated it, we wrote the intro together and the song and or the dialogue that goes through there, and we're actually putting something together that we haven't seen on other indie campaigns, and I'm afraid to say, but I think it's pretty cool. So whatever, I'll say it. Please
Say it,
nobody
say
steal
it,
it.
say it,
Please nobody
say
steal
it.
it. So every campaign video from now on, if people like it, is basically going to start like the beginning of a recap from like the cartoons we used to watch on the last episode of the Vale Walker, and like it'll be like an explanation, like there'll be some images of like issue one, and then we'll start to show some of issue two, much like we did here. So I
I
think that's pretty
love
cool. Where
that. You
we're
can merge it together too.
Yep, and at some point, because like any series of books, there'll be a trade at some point. So we'll love to take all of those videos and kind of put them together into one masterly rendered, trailer for the whole series. So yeah, I think we're gonna try it out for volume 2. For issue 2, and we'll see how people like it and see if they like the sort of the recap from issue 1 and then the explanation of issue 2.
All right. Where can everybody find you?
So I keep it super simple for everyone. OwasiComics.com, which I'm still updating, so don't go to my website and look at my merch page.
I
Uh,
almost pulled it up. I almost pulled it up this evening. I literally did. I have the tab open.
I gotta update it. It's super, like, it still says back us on Kickstarter. Like I
I
need
was
to.
gonna say that's the reason why I didn't is because the date on the web page.
Yeah, it's super.
So,
I gotta update that. But we're gonna be posting a lot of stuff there. Also, Owasi Comics on Instagram and Twitter. That's it. Same username, Owasi Comics.
and why should everyone back this book?
Besides the fact that it's only $8, I think it's the start to something. And I'm trying to find the words here, but I think it's the start to something special. It's the start to something that's not really happening in the indie comic space, where we're trying to drop these books as quickly as possible. We're continuously producing, for example, pages. There's 3 pages already in the works for issue 2. And again, I've already shown you guys, there's some things that we're dropping in our campaign for issue 2 that we already have prototypes and we have things in production. So, this is the beginning of a very long journey. And I hope that people, come along with me.
All right, everyone. Back Vale Walker today. Follow Stefan at Oasi Comics. Sorry. I almost like Oasi, you know.
Close
Um
enough.
yeah, if you want, you can hang out or hang out in the back for a second, but I have a package I have to open real quick. So
Sure.
your choice. I can have Spencer put you in the back or whatnot, but I've been waiting to open this for some time. We were gonna make a little video, but Spencer has been sick with I don't know what. But this is something this is from the Diaz brothers.
It's my
Zade
boys.
Comics. Oh yeah. Phil is an amazing writer. He's in my opinion one of the best in indie comics right now.
He's
Okay.
also quite the personality.
Yeah, he's great. Great personality. So this is Magic Cop 2 and 1 in here. So I'm actually having to cut this because holy crap, how did you package this? Are you trying to make me struggle? But I'll show you guys what I got real quick. And then I'm just going to pull up Phil's campaign real quick for the silhouette. Which the Lost Pages, I told you guys, Phil will always have a special place to me because his book was the first book I actually backed. Him and Brandon. So, all right. So, I was not around for Magic Cop 1. So, I had to get Magic Cop 1. Sorry, my ring light that I can't work correctly here, but this is Magic Cop 1 with the new cover that they did here. I mean, their quality of product is amazing. So, when I went into Magic Cop 2, I was like, I need 1. I can't just read 2 and not read 1. I need to know everything about the story because that's me personally. So hopefully that looks a little better for you guys here out of the bag. So here's the reprint to Magic Cop 1 that I got. Of course, here is Magic Cop 2. Let me pull this out. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Like a bunch of stuff in here. I'll also show you guys what else I got within this campaign. So beautiful quality. This is great quality, guys. Zade Comics, great quality. I love the feeling, the texture of this cover. Oh my God, it's amazing. I can't wait to read through this. I know it's going to be very well written. So let's see, we have the ash can here. I love the little size of it too. And I like the detail on the back. Unfortunately, my camera sucks, so then we have the bookmark. And then we have some blockhead stuff, and they did some of these for the lost pages as well, which these are kind of cool. Put them together. Just some extra stuff. And I got my Magic Cop shirt, which I'm going to cut up, and I'm going to like 80ify, like 80sify. Is that even a word? No, it's a Kayla word, I guess.
It's
Oh,
definitely not a word.
it's definitely not a word. But look at this. Look at this. I didn't even see these trading cards. These are sick. I love this. I'm a boob person. Everyone knows this. So anything with boobs, it's all good in my book. I know Phil's
Ditto.
going to like take a look at this and he's going to like laugh. And then we have like Arsenic Jones here. And this is gorgeous. This one is gorgeous. The character is Iggy and Gray. I'm like, who did this card? This, I wish my camera did better justice for this artwork because this is absolutely gorgeous. This looks almost like a painted picture. That is beautiful. I cannot wait to read this stuff, and they actually have another campaign going on right now, which is the sequel to the Lost Pages, the Silhouette, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second to stop this, and I just want to share real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me stop my camera and find this.
I think Magic Cop
Everything's
and
in
the
my
Vale
phone.
Walker. I think Magic Cop and the Vale Walker need a little crossover.
I
Diaz brothers.
feel like your writing style is very strong. Okay, I can tell right away that you're a very strong writer. If you and
Thank
Phil
you.
got together and did some kind of crossover, I would be all for it. You know, brainstorm it, talk it out. It could be possible. You could totally do something like that with the world that you're creating and mash
The
it into
world,
Lost Pages.
yeah. I mean,
It's possible.
a lot of people say, magical worlds lend themselves to crossover and dimension hopping and all that. So,
Exactly. That's
I think
what
there's
I
a
was
lot.
getting at.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the Veilwalker has a lot of room to grow before I can consider reaching out to those extremely successful and talented young men for a crossover. But at some point, right?
In the future, that's a good goal to go for. That's a good
Yeah.
goal to go for. I think if you did, I would definitely back it. So, all
Plus the
right.
Latino connection going on there.
I know. I was going to say. Oh,
We're gonna launch it
let's
during
go.
the Hispanic Heritage Month next year. Watch.
Isn't that this month? So next year
Or next
around
year. Next year.
September?
Yeah, we'll probably be 3 or 4 issues in with the Veilwalker by then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm just going to share the audio for this and stop my camera so I can just play the trailer real quick. Hold on. All right, let's watch this trailer for the Lost Pages 2, guys. And I mean, congratulations to Phil and Brandon for hitting their campaign goal. They get 25 days left still. Congratulations, guys. Phenomenal. I mean, let me tell you, I am not how can I put it? There aren't many anthology comics that catch my eyes nowadays. Okay? There's not many things that anthology wise can hold up to like the anthologies I grew up reading, like the old creep shows and stuff. So, and this was such a great anthology series. So I am happy for all of the success that they are having with this, because it's very well written and I love all the different art styles. So let me just play this trailer before we exit out for the evening. And yeah.
From Zade Comics comes The Lost Pages 2. This time we follow the Silhouette, our ghostly avenger who brings justice to the streets of Chicago. Ever searching his haunted past while chasing a new supervillain, El Dorado. The golden menace whose powers rival the city's avenger. But the minds of the scum, the souls of the vile, know nothing of the darkness shrouded within the Silhouette. Only on Indiegogo. Know nothing of the darkness shrouded within.
That was awesome.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Thank you to anybody that's checking the stream out later on. And thank you so much for coming on, Stefan. I wish you all the luck with this campaign. I believe in this campaign.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that, you decided to come on here. And
How couldn't I?
I mean, I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it because, I'm not a super big name, but I have passion for your book. That's why I stalked it from the get. So
No, and for me, it's every single stream is important. Every single appearance that I have on anybody's stream allows me to sort of talk a little bit more about the book and really get to know a lot more people. And you know what? One of the major things I'm grateful for since joining the indie comic space was the community. And thank you so much for inviting me on, and thank you so much for showing so much passion for the Velewalker. I really appreciate it.
I wish you all the success. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you again for hanging out. And I'll see you tomorrow when I have Rini Draws coming on. I have Irene coming on here. So